Hello there, everybody, and I hope everybody's having a good day. I'm doing fairly well. No glasses. I've had both cataract surgeries. Everything's still shifting, but things are coming into focus. So hopefully it stays that well. No, it will stay that way. Well, no, it's not going to stay that way. It's going to get better. Let's put it that way. So I'm pleased. And if anybody is curious about it, I have something. I got slightly different lenses than the normal what everyone would get if you went in just to have the cataracts changed because my eyes were so bad to begin with. So some of my reactions are probably not typical to everybody. They might give you some ideas of what you go through or what other people go through, but don't hold any comparisons with me specifically. Okay, just wanted to make sure that that was covered and cleared. Um, Today I was actually going to talk about something else, and then I actually overheard an analogy about balance that I thought was really good. So I wanted to share that. I've heard a lot of people for years, everybody's talked about how they're looking for balance and they're trying to get balance between their work and their life and their children and their personal things and everything. I bought it for a few minutes originally, and then after a while, I never really got into the concept of having a balanced life. It never really made sense to me because I don't see it as being possible. The only one who can hold balance permanently is a statue, as far as I'm concerned, because something is going to happen. You get to have that one piece of balance and then something changes. Your home life and school life and work life and children and everything is fine. Then a kid gets sick, you get sick, whatever happens. Something's always changing and it's going to throw the balance off. And that seemed to me, in a sense, contrary to the concept of balance. If you keep having to work to try and keep the balance, then where's the balance? If that makes sense. I never said much about it simply because I never really came up with any better idea or any thought that made more sense to me until this morning. Because I was listening to the book that we will be discussing over the course of time, Limitless, and I was listening to it. It's not actually in the book itself, at least I haven't found it yet anyway. And what Jim Quick mentioned was the concept of harmony. And I like that better than balance. The idea of keeping things in your life in some level of harmony makes much more sense to me and seems to be much more easy than to try and keep a balance because, like, as I implied, balance is like walking a tightrope. You have to be so very careful because it's going to take a little bit and off you go. Um, Harmony, while still may be difficult, doesn't seem to be quite so complicated. But Quick went on with a other analogy that I thought made perfect sense, and at least to me anyway. So I thought I'd share it with you today. Before I go into it, quote. What was my quote? I was going to say, got my quote. I have to come up with it and put it in there. But the quote, um, gee, that's depressing because I just had it in my head and now it's totally, absolutely gone. Um, oh well, we'll just put it down. I'll just put it in the email because it's just, I don't remember, totally gone. But anyway, so the thought was that harmony, in a sense, if you think in terms of an orchestra, think about an orchestra. You could, if you want to, a band, if that's your, style. Not all of the instruments play everything at the same time all the time. At any given moment in time, some instrument in the orchestra may not be playing at all. At any given moment in time, some instruments may be more pronounced than others. Some instruments may be more in the back, and others are sort of like just keeping, shall we say, rhythm as opposed to the tune. Yet all of them together make the music. You can't really have some of that music, at least not the full impact of it, without all of the pieces of the orchestra together playing each of their parts whenever they need to play their part. Okay? So, the drums play a part that you have a big piece of music and the drums will be something in there. The music's not going to be quite the same without the drum. It's not going to be quite the same if you take it out the violin or whatever else. And I think that this is closer to the concept of harmony instead of balance, because you've got your life is going to be full of, if you will, the instruments in an orchestra. You're going to have the children, you're going to have work, you're going to have the things you like to do, all sorts of pieces that go along with it, none of which are going to be overwhelmingly unique in the sense of that that's your thing permanently forever and ever and ever and ever. They all have to go into your particular life. If you're a parent with children, you'll have a period of time in which the children are going to be the big thing in your life. For example, let's just say when the children are new or young, babies, it's going to be very different than when the children are, say, 18 or 20 or 40 even. They still may be in your life for, let's just say, 60 years, but they will never be in your life in exactly the same way because they'll be at different stages. And this again goes back to why I said I never saw balance, because if you see children, you can't be balanced with a 2-year-old in the same way you balance with a 14-year-old, with the same way you balance with a 30-year-old. I just don't see it. But if you think in terms that you've got all of those pieces together, and your job, more or less, if you will, I started to say, your job is to felt should you choose to accept it, which is a play off on the television program. My mind is just going out of it today. Can't remember the television program or the movies, but anyway, too bad. If you remember it, fine. But the idea is that you've got a chance to choose whatever it is your options you're going to choose. So, if you want to have more time with your children versus more time at a particular job because of whatever reason that might be fascinating you because of what you're doing at that point in time, you're finding, in a sense, the harmony of all the pieces of your life. And when you find the harmony, it's much easier to be less stressed, because I think much of what happens with the stress that we get is we're trying to actually sometimes make it all even out and equal out. And again, like I said, I don't think that's possible. So I think you put yourself through a lot of stress trying to make everything 50% or 25 or 25 or 25 or how many parts you've got. But when you try and say that each part has its own position in it, and you try and just look at each one equally depending on where it is in your life, I think you'll do better, if that makes sense. So it's the idea of not looking for a perfect concept of balance as much as the harmony of finding out how all the pieces of your specific orchestra, your specific life play together. Okay? Does that make sense? Even if I can't remember the quote or the name of the top Mission Impossible. There we go. Sooner or later I'll come back. At least now I got the name of the TV show. Whether or not I'll get the quote back in a couple of minutes is still up for grabs, but that's beside the point. But if you think in terms of how all of that comes together, even in a sense, just my flubbing this, if you will, I'm not, you'll go through life and there'll be things, all of you have done that. You know something and it just doesn't come, and it comes to you an hour later when you don't need it. And all of it just sort of has its own important part in time in your life. And if you just accept the fact that they all fit and how you want them to fit, and you have some degree of control of how they fit, I think you'll end up being much more satisfied than when you try and give everything equal time, because I don't know that that's possible. Okay. And if anybody's managed to figure out how to make it possible every single day for every, then let me know. I'd love to know. But into connecting with study and anything else like that, once I think you find this harmony, I think things become a bit easier on you. Because I think a lot of stress comes about when you're trying to think that, oh, gee, I should be studying more, I should be spending more time with my kids, I should be this, that, and the other. And if you basically say that's not going to happen and I'm not going to worry about it, I'm just going to try and make sure that everything sort of like fits and life more or less is satisfactory to me, I think you'll be in better shape. At least that's my thought. So let me know what you think about it. Does this idea make more sense to you? Does it seem more reasonable? Tell me about it. I'd really like to know. And if you really think that you can get balance and equal everything out and its own, like 20% here and 23% here and 17% there, let me know, because I'd really like to know how you do it. Okay. So that's it for the day. I hope this was helpful. I hope, if nothing else, it gave you a couple of things to think about. Let me know what you think and tell me, whether you agree with me or not. I really would appreciate it and like to know, because to know whether or not I'm going in the direction that you think too, because if I'm going over there and you're over there, it's not going to work. Okay? So we'll chat with you later, and have a good day. Bye.